If you're super eager to use the brand new Claude agent, but you don't want to volunteer your computer as tribute, this video is for you. I'm going to quickly show you how you can actually fire up Claude agent and test it out in a browser that's not on your physical computer. Instead of risking your personal computer, we're going to use a ready-to-use framework on Replit so you can get this up and running in under 2 to 3 minutes. If you have no idea what I'm even talking about, last week Anthropic put together a brand new framework called Claude Agent, which is basically a framework that allows you, the user, to use natural language to control a computer and a cursor so it can do tasks for you, quote unquote, autonomously. Now, a little spoiler, right now in its current state, it's absolutely horrific. It's unbelievably expensive. It's so slow that entire empires rise and fall in between things happening, and it's super buggy, meaning if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner right now, this is going to do absolutely nothing for you except for burning a hole in your pocket. Because when I say it's expensive, it is unbelievably expensive. Now you might ask, Mark, if it's so expensive and it's so horrific, why are you doing a tutorial about it? My response to that is, while this is still in its infancy, so are a lot of other frameworks. And once the costs go down, and once the technology actually improves to a point where it's usable and inexpensive and it's accurate, this becomes a super helpful tool in maybe 3 to 6 months from now. So I need to do my duty to my clients and to you, the audience, to make sure that you're fully abreast of how to use this so that when the time comes and it is truly usable and powerful, you're ready to go. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mark, and I run my own AI automation agency called Prompt Advisors for the past 2 years. We help companies in every industry better understand where to integrate AI best in their workflow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dive straight in and show you how to use this out of the box, and then I'm going to go through a few different use cases that I put together so that you can see how it works when it does work. I burned through $50 of API costs so that you don't have to. So a few days ago, the founder at Replit released a brand new framework for free that you can click on here. And when you click on Get Started, and I'll make sure that this link to the actual Replit will be in the Gumroad in the description below. When you click on this, it'll invite you to fork or use the template, and you can actually use this for free. You don't have to deploy this at all. So at least the Replit part, you don't have to worry about paying. The API cost part is the part you need to worry about. So when you click on Use Template, I'm just going to click on Use. It's going to now fork it, and very quickly, it's going to put together this little getting started package. We can skip reading it. All you have to do is actually click Run, and then it will say an error that you don't have an API key. So there we go. This will say required secrets. So I'll have to go into here, click on secrets right down here, and then I'm going to load my API key. So I'm just going to load this in here. And now that it's working, the web view should load, and this web view is where you're going to actually be controlling and orchestrating all the activities. So if we take the web view and we go here, then you'll have this side by side. And what I like to do to make this a bit more easy on the eyes is I like to open this in a new tab. So this is our orchestrating tab, and then this will be our tab where you actually see what's happening. So I'm just going to pull these side by side very quickly, and then I'll put our little main tab here. I'll drag that out and I'll put it side by side. All right, so now we have them side by side, and I'm just going to click on skip this step, and you'll see that it has rendered a Firefox instance within the actual Replit environment. So this is not on my personal computer. Anything I'm doing is orchestrating this browser within this virtual machine. So again, from a security standpoint, this is a very risky framework to download on your computer, so I personally don't recommend it. I can imagine there's thousands of hackers around the world just salivating at the number of people that are voluntarily downloading an LLM that can control their computer, quote unquote, autonomously on their desktop. I highly recommend you don't do that until the bugs are fixed. So if we do skip this step, I just want to get it into a place where at least the AI doesn't have to figure out how to get out of that browsing mode. And how it works is pretty much once the API key's in, so if I refresh this, this should be, so it doesn't seem like it's actually worked here. So I'm going to just close this, close that, and then I'll go here. And I'm only showing this just in case it happens to you. So I'm going to click Run again. Now that there is an API key, they should both be on the same page, and now they are, because you can see there's a little type of message box here. So I'm going to go back and put this back side by side. All right, so we're in business. The idea is whatever you say in natural language here is going to orchestrate what happens in that browser. So I've tried to come up with use cases that might be in the future very business oriented as an owner. But just to start things off, if I say, book me a flight on Google Flights from Montreal to Bangkok in January, from January 1st to January 7th, and please pick a good airline. And then I'm being very specific on Google Flights to make it easier. It's really good at knowing the URL of well-known brands like Amazon, Google Flights, etc. Once you go more obscure, that's where you start to struggle a bit. At the top left-hand side, this is where you specify the model. I think you can use Haiku as well, but it's not as good. And you can specify how many images to send or take, because what it does is it takes screenshots of the browsers continuously to give it a feedback loop on what's happening. So you can just click on only send n most recent images, and then it will take, in this case, 10 screenshots before it does something. Now, we can minimize it to lower the likelihood of bankruptcy from the API, just to show you how it would work. And if I send this request, now technically it only gets 3 screenshots to try to execute this. So the first thing is it's going to say, I'll help you search for flights from Montreal to Bangkok using Google Flights. Let me open Firefox. It's already open. And okay, you can see here it's entering Google Flights. And then now it should take a screenshot of what the screen looks like. So it tries to give its best shot at entering the information. Now, I'm already regretting that I only gave it 3 screenshots because it might struggle, but let's see how it does. Okay, so we got Montreal, we got Bangkok. So far, we're killing it. All right, and it's using the date picker. That's awesome. So it's finding, I think we're going to need more screenshots to be able to show itself that it's on November. Okay, so far so bad here. We're going to October 27th, not January 1st. We started at November 6th, and now we are one by one going to, I hope, January 1st. But if I had done this myself, I would be done around 3 minutes ago. And the beautiful part is, while it's also doing this one by one, it's also charging you a lot of money while doing so. So again, this is purely for experimental purposes. If you want to try this a couple times, go for it. I'm going to try to show you a different set of use cases that could be cool in the future. But you can see here, even booking a flight, it's not doing too well. Now, could one parameter be the lack of screenshots? Totally. So if I made it 10 screenshots, maybe it'll be better. So you can see here, it's tapped out. It's taken more screenshots than I've even told it. It actually took 10 screenshots despite me putting 3. So that's telling me that when you first fire up your environment, before you even write anything, specify the images before your first message and maybe refresh to make sure it actually has cached it into its memory. But this is it trying. So in this case, it says, this appears to be a limitation of the system. I cannot search for flights in January 2024 this time. Did I say January 2024? That could be reason why. No. So it made a assumption. I want to go in 2025, January. ... I'll be a little bit sassy. Not 2024. So if we do that, right now I'm going to edit to the result just to save you the pain, and I'll sit here and be stoic. Okay, so it actually, before it did anything, it says, here are your options. Wait until February. Okay, if I just tell it, just book me something from Jan to March. Choose your dates. So it ended up saying that January still was not a possibility, even though we all know that you can at least book a flight almost a year in advance. But regardless, I said, you know what? If it's only December, let's do December. And let's see if that does anything better. But so far, all I see is date picking to the right infinitely. All right, and despite me asking specifically for December, and it's saying specifically it can help me in December, it apparently wants me to go November 3rd to 10th. And at least it can click the search button. So there you go. It has that going for it. And I'm hoping it doesn't give me the worst connections or the most connections. I would actually be okay if it got me the Emirates flight down below. That's at least it's one stop. Okay, so at least here it's asking me for permission on which one I want to do, but you get the idea with this use case. Let's just switch gears and I'll say, never mind, find me a good YouTube video on meta prompting. And if it doesn't pick my video, then I already know this framework's not up to scruff. Okay, so it's going to write YouTube, amazing. So that's going a bit better than the date picker. And then I hope it's going to pick meta prompting as the thing it enters into the search bar. Okay, there's hope. Meta prompting tutorial. Okay, so there's your boy. Let's see if it picks a sponsored one or if it's smart enough to pick a really good tutorial. Oh, it's going to my original one there. Okay, so at least it can do that pretty well. So that's a use case on lock, done. So let's shift gears again once it's done loading. I'll just wait for it. Okay, so it says here, this video is particularly good because it's recently published 3 months ago, has a good number of views, 68 chapters. Mark Casher is known for clear explanations of AI topics. That's nice. That's nice to hear. Awesome. So that's another use case. So imagine the future. The reason why I'm showing you these things, the cool factor wears off in under 5 minutes. But after that, a lot of companies, especially larger organizations, are looking into using robotic process automation, or RPA, and this is something that's been around for a very long time. And basically what happens is that there's a programmatic design of a workflow that doesn't use APIs, but basically does keystrokes and scrolls and clicks and typing in a certain way that you can automate in a very comprehensive process. This is not going to replace that anytime soon. But if you are an organization or you're planning on using some form of RPA for manual processes in your company or organization, this is where I would start to say, this is awful now, this is slow now, the use cases are far few in between that are realistic now, but in 3 to 6 months, when the costs go down precipitously, being able to automate something just through natural language and have it be done by a computer autonomously is going to be a huge advantage, and it's going to be unbelievably disruptive to that industry, which is a bit more archaic and hasn't really changed very much in the past 10 to 20 years. One particular interesting use case is web scraping, because that's been done for a long time, but very programmatic, meaning you've had to go on the site, look at the structure of the site, look at where everything's located, get past any proxies, get past any Cloudflare to be able to take any information from that website and do something with it. But you can imagine this will be used for programmatic web scraping in a very different way, where it can download things, it can actually see the web page eventually. Right now it's using screenshots. What's going to happen later is it's going to be able to stream. When it streams, it can see everything in real time, and that scroll doesn't have to be mapped out and targeted, kind of like Battleship, every single time you say like E2 or F6, like it's doing right now, and looking for a specific coordinate in that image. When it goes to streaming, and streaming is dirt cheap, which based on how the line for cost is going, it should probably be cheap in, again, that 3 to 6 month period. So the reason why I'm showing you this is just because of that. Now I'm going to end off with one use case that came to mind that is pretty interesting and useful in the future, which is user testing, especially when it comes to accessibility and making sure that your site is friendly for everyone of all ages, or at least has a good design, or is very intuitive in terms of navigation. If I put something like, let's switch gears, can you go on my website called www.promptadvisors.com and tell me if it has a good UI with any feedback you have on accessibility. All right, so it's entering promptadvisors.com. It's helpful if you actually give it the URL. That's much better. It's going to load, and my page unfortunately has a pop-up that acts as a lead form, but we'll see if it can navigate past it. Okay, so it visibly didn't click it off, but it was still able to scrape the page through screenshots without doing that. You can see it got past that, at least programmatically. It was able to actually tell me clean modern design, clean value proposition, loading speed. It was actually able to record that, which is pretty cool. It tells me it's taking quite a long time to load. And then it goes through all these accessibility concerns in terms of adding alt text to images, text contrast, ensure all the interactive elements are keyboard accessible. And then it says mobile responsiveness. I notice a hamburger icon, which is good for mobile. Recommend testing thoroughly on various screen sizes, etc. And then if you go down, it actually comes up with specific recommendations for accessibility, the user experience, and then it basically offers, do you want me to check the features more in detail, analyze that responsiveness, etc. So this is at least one use case that you could actually start using today. If you have a brand new website, a brand new SaaS application, a brand new app, getting that third-party feedback is still slightly cheaper than hiring someone as a user tester. It's definitely not cheaper than free, but it's something of interest in terms of a use case, which is having an impartial party take the role of a user and give you some genuine feedback about your product. All right, so these are just a few of the infinite use cases that could be doable with this technology in the not so distant future. Obviously, take it for a spin, go see what works, what doesn't. So take it for a spin, go on Amazon.com and have it pick a perfect chew toy for you to see how it's processing that logic and that feedback loop. And I wouldn't test this more than an hour if you don't want to bankrupt yourself. So just give this a shot, see how it works, and this conversation, probably in 3 to 6 months, I'll probably have another video where it's usable, it's doable, and that's where, as a business owner, you can take real advantage to kind of cheat time and become that much more superhuman. If you love content like this and stuff like this is helpful, please leave a like and sub on the channel and leave me a comment down below on what you might want to see next, and I'll see you guys next time.